of our everyday lives. It's been said by someone once that the average person knows about 10,000 words, but only uses 5,000 a day. It said a journalist knows around 15,000 words, but only uses 10,000 a day. We're not tapping fully into those resources, but there's not a need for that if we can communicate the message. But you've heard that old saying before, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's meant to encourage us, of course, not to allow someone to alter our disposition because of their words and to try to take the high ground, but words do hurt. Words are powerful. And though we may have all of these words in our repertoire, that same article that I was reading said that in the English language there's some 800,000 words. Now that could be dated and there could be more than that now, as there's new words seem to be added on a daily basis. But sometimes it's not so much the words, but what's behind those words that matters, how we say those words. And that got me thinking for a Monday meditation of a passage in the book of Proverbs. And Proverbs is a lot of wisdom for us and helping us to navigate the lives that are before us and helping us to be what God wants us to be. And Solomon, of course, writing the Proverbs to his son, is encouraging him in this chapter. And I want to read verses 1 through 6, and let's meditate upon that this Monday. Proverbs 15:1 says, "A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger." A soft answer, a considerate answer, a thoughtful answer, a kind answer turns away wrath and anger. Reminds me of the New Testament Proverbs, the book of James, where he says, "Let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath." How we say those words, it's not always easy, is it? Of course not. And we see people popping off all the time, and sometimes we ourselves get caught up in this, and he's reminding us to choose that soft answer as much as possible. These grievous words, these hurtful words, words that hurt the soul, that dig down deep, he says they stir up anger. He says the tongue of the wise useth knowledge aright, but the mouth of fools poureth out foolishness. The tongue of the wise uses knowledge in the right way. Knowledge is a wonderful thing. But if we are not using that knowledge in the right way, it's only hurting us. He goes on to say that this mouth of the fool, he pours out foolishness. The mouth of fools who are empty and worthless person is that sense that he's using it in. And he just pours out foolishness. There's a sense of childishness in that. He's going back and reverting back to acting like a child. And he says, this is not the way that we should be. This is not the wise person's course. Use the soft answer. Turn away wrath. Don't use grievous words that stir up anger. Use your knowledge in the right way, your tongue to express that knowledge in the right way. He says, verse 3, "The eyes of the Lord are in every place, and beholding the evil and the good." This is why it's important that we check ourselves on this on a regular basis. And there are times when we need to apologize, that maybe we've used those grievous words. Maybe we've poured out that foolishness and we need to change and create in us a new life. As David was asking of God in 51st Psalm, he said, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me." He wanted to make changes in his life, and he was willing to do that. And so he says, verse 4, "A wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness therein is a breach of the spirit." There's a level of ignorance that is seen when people rush to foul language to try to emphasize some point. It's a lazy speech is what it is. We need to elevate our speech as God's people for those soft answers, yes, for those kind words, yes, and to use our knowledge in the right way and our tongues to express that knowledge in the right way because God's watching. The eyes of the Lord, they're over the righteous, and his ears are open to their prayers, but those that are evil and wicked, he's against them. And he's saying here, I see the good, I see the bad. God sees that, and he's looking down upon us, and he's wanting us to be sources of help and light instead of sources of evil. Verse 5 says, "A fool despiseth his father's instruction, but he that regardeth reproof is prudent." Someone who's accepting of correction. Someone who's willing to actually look in the mirror and say, was that true? Someone challenges us and says, what you did was wrong. We need to listen. We need to take that seriously and say, are they telling the truth? Was I really wrong? Did I really use knowledge the wrong way? You might be right, but you harm the right with the way you approach it. I may be right, but I may harm what I'm trying to express in the way that I approach that. We do it sometimes with our families. Usually they're the first ones that experience this. And hopefully that we have a strong enough relationship that when those things happen, and we can correct that as quickly as possible and let them know that we're striving to do better in the future. It's a resolution that we could all embrace in this year 2021. Verse 6, he says, in the house of the righteous is much treasure, but in the revenues of the wicked is trouble. Those earnings, the wicked, is just trouble. You're just going to bring trouble to your home. But in the house of righteousness, doing that which is right, there's great treasure. It doesn't mean, as many in the religious world want to express today, that God's going to fill your coffer with all the money and houses on the hills and cars and things of this world. No, that's not the case. I'm reminded of Jesus' story of the rich man and Lazarus, and how the rich man had all of those things, but he lacked what mattered most. And in the end, he suffered. Whereas Lazarus in this world, he didn't have all of those treasures, but he had treasures in heaven. And after his death and the angels took him into the bosom of Abraham, he was comforted. Something to think about as we look back to the scriptures and we look back to thinking about in this next year, what are some things that we could do better? Let's start with getting our heads right, definitely, and our focus on God, but realizing that words matter. Realizing that if we only know 10,000 words, those 5,000 that we use on a daily basis are going to be soft answers, kind words, helpful words. Again, it goes back to that old saying that's been around for a long time. Before we speak, we need to think. Is it true? Is it honest? Is it important? Is it necessary? And ultimately, is it kind? See, that spells the word think. Do that before we speak. I'm not just trying to tell you what to do. This is a song. This is a proverb that I need this morning as well, that we all need to remember. A soft answer turns away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. God communicated with you and with me with words, and he expects us to use our words in the right way. As again James said, swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Are my words helping point others to God? What about yours? Something on which we can meditate this Monday and every day. May God bless you till we meet again.